So much that this franchise will become good! Astonishingly, that's not the case. I was actually surprised with Prom Night 4 Deliver Us from Evil, as the series experienced a decline over the past 2 installments. So when I realized it was an actual slasher, I about lost my shit. And not only is it a slasher, it's debatably better than the original. It's a matter of public knowledge that the Prom Night films have very little to do with one another, and Deliver Us is no exception, with just a couple of proms and a handful of continuity nods to try to tie it in. But let's get this review underway. The preamble. We have numbered sequels, it's of the known slasher subtype, maybe magic, maybe mundane, job title, The Scourge of God, theme killer, and Prom Night 4 was mentioned in Season 3, Episode 20 of Buffy, The Prom. Deliver Us starts out with our introduction to the film's killer, Father Jonas. Though this opening sequence gives the quick impression that he's a big old bowl of crazy, but Jesus makes his presence known, showing that I think he's okay with what's about to go down. Deliver Us seems to try and raise questions with faith, or at least I think that's what they're going for. Why else would you cast a killer as the priest? And it wasn't on accident, that's for sure. But, good old Hamilton High. Circuit 1957. Yep, that prom. But don't worry, Mary Lou isn't going to be making any appearances in this film, even with the use of the stock footage from Hello Mary Lou. Yep, you guys fit right into this time period seamlessly. Brett and Lisa, who both seem to have made subpar choices for prom dates, meet up. Lisa insults her date Larry. No, not him. And then she makes a strange offhanded comment about Larry having no chance with her, hence why he's off dancing with Louise. Then why did you want to go to the prom with him if you don't like him? Well, Lisa and Brett decide to go out to their car after making short work of slipping in the classic prom night line.
So you take home.
Oh, you knew that joke was coming. Also, how did this line become one of the defining features of this franchise? I'm not even sure it's a thing, or it's ever applied to any prom. Ever. But as we know, Vice always precedes Slice and Dice. The pair meet a sudden and bloody end at the hands of Father Jonas. Jonas then proceeds to burn the car. Where did those candles come from? Is he performing an exorcism on the car? Well, we do know how fragile cars are in this world. Damn cars, being made out of dynamite and shit. Father Jonas is discovered by his fellow priests in the middle of a little self-flagellation. An awkward situation, I can assure you. Father Jonas continues with the crazy talk and stigmatizing it up a bit before being taken into police custody for the murders he just committed. I'm joking, of course. The church secrets him away. We jump ahead now to 1991. As the rest of the first act is agonizingly slow and boring, here's a quick overview. Father Colin, played by Brock Simpson, in his fourth and sadly final prom night appearance, is placed in charge of Father Jonas's care by Father Yeagar. Father Jonas, as it turns out, isn't crazy, but is instead possessed by an evil beyond imagination. After Father Colin learns how to care for Father Jonas, an evil beyond imagination, Father Yeagar dies. While this is happening, we meet our teen cast, consisting of Megan, the innocent brunette, her friend Laura, the sexy blonde, Megan's boyfriend Mark, the rich guy, and Laura's...
You were fucking, sister.
Well, Jeff. Who actually has no more defining attributes, which is really bad for character development, but pretty great for a body count. Back with Father Colin, who thinks he can help Father Jonas stops administering his drugs. After hearing Father Jonas talking a little cray-cray about things he shouldn't know, and a jump scare, Colin checks on Jonas, who knocks him out and escapes. Meanwhile, back with the teens, we meet Mark's little brother, Jonathan, who's a bit of a creeper, and Megan seals her fate as the final girl. Colin wakes up and rushes to the phone to contact the Cardinal about Jonas's escape. But before he can get through to warn them, Jonas gets the drop on him. Alas, all things must pass. We then cut to Lauren and Megan, getting ready for the evening festivities. The obligatory fan service scene rears its head, and pushes to the point where it almost hits the realm of a trauma film. Mark and Jeff leave behind Jonathan, who's sick at his behest, and leave to pick up the girls. But what's this? Jonathan isn't sick at all. Oh, he was pretending so he can keep up his creeper ways. Silly scamp. The Cardinal, arriving too late to save Colin, quickly sets to covering up the murder by making it look like a suicide before they start their hunt for Father Jonas. Isn't the church supposed to be the good guys? Because they certainly don't feel like it. They set themselves up to be this film's Dr. Loomis, and then they become all cloak and dagger. As the kids via limo head out to Mark's family vacation home, they toasted Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm not sure if the film is trying to be self-aware here, or if it's another continuity nod, so I'm just gonna give it to them. Father Jonas catches a ride with a porn-suspecting trucker, who happens to be a very fun side character with quite a mouth.
Pussy.
But Jonas responds with crazy. As the group passes Hamilton High, who happen to be having their prom... Just so you know, that's it. That's all the proms and all the Hamilton High of the original Prom Night series. And this is the note we leave it on. Now that that's out of the way, this film actually becomes pretty good. We learn that Jonas has killed the truck driver, but let's face it, we all saw that coming. The teens arrive at Mark's family's vacation home, which turns out to be a former monastery, so the teens' fun-filled weekend gets off to this great start as they learn the place has been looted.
The televisions, the VCR, the stove, the fridge, the microwave, and the freezer.
So they don't think to call the police about the thefts because they aren't supposed to be there. But they still clean up the house and stay there even though it's a crime scene? Right. Even if you guys were to survive the weekend, which, let's face it, you're not, you still would have been caught.
You mean they didn't take anything yet?
Yeah, you getting busted. Laura gets stalked by Father Jonas via the classic killer's gaze POV shot while out gathering firewood. Normally this is just a simple trope, but it's become one of the things that's so ingrained into the genre that it's become part of its modus operandi. Feeling something's up, Laura gets her ass back inside. The group has dinner with a discussion about how much to disclose during confession to a priest. Only Megan admitting to being the only one to be fully honest with her priest during confession, the others telling lies or at the very least half-truths. If she wasn't a deadlock for Final Girl before, she is now. Megan goes down into the basement to steal another bottle of wine, but as she's the final girl, we can't have that, so instead she drops it. It doesn't matter if she dropped the bottle movie, she was still going to steal it. She then steps in the broken glass, hurting herself. Meanwhile, Laura and Jeff sneak off via more killer's gaze POV, and Megan receives an unsettling phone call while Mark is out of the room getting first aid supplies. Laura and Jeff get intimate, while Jonas arms up. So, wait, this is the same place where he was self-flagellating years ago? How was this stuff not found during remodeling? But you would also think that Jonas would go after the pair doing the sinning, but instead he kills Mark's creeper brother. I know he had a name, but let's face it, he was barely a character. Laura thinks she hears something and tries to rouse Jeff. But what's this? Uh-oh. It's not Jeff, it's Father Jonas. Jeff, unable to get into the room, goes and gets help from Mark and Megan. The group go looking for Laura and decide to split up, because you know it's faster and nothing bad ever happens when you split up. In the wine cellar, Mark finds Father Jonas' personal hidey hole. While Mark is making discoveries in the basement, Jeff makes his own in the attic.
Alright. We can fuck now, Jeff.
Okay, stopping here for a second to address something. The killers and slashers are almost always sexually frustrated. Some films do a much better job with it than others, but the underlying tones of sexuality and sexual release are almost always there. We see this very commonly with the death by sex trope, which, by the way, as well as in the killer themselves, which in itself is a very fascinating subject, and is the subject of a number of books written by people more knowledgeable than I. So, if you're interested, I would heavily recommend them, as they are, while dry, are very interesting reads. Father Jonas kills Jeff by praying to him. Seriously? I think that Jonas is meant to be crushing his head, but it comes more off that Jonas is literally killing him with his words. After finding blood in the basement, the pair keeps searching the house in a very calm, collected manner. They find more blood in the attic, which causes them to now be afraid. Enough at least to check the woodshed. You're finding blood everywhere! While inspecting the woodshed, the pair find Laura and Jeff's corpses tied to the cross and set on fire. Fire. This starts Megan's tour of the dead, by the way. The running of the gauntlet of her dead friends, that's a rite of passage for almost all final girls. Prompting Mark and Megan to take back off to the house. Wait, what? Are they coated in napalm? They've been on fire for 19 seconds. And they're already crumbling? What are they made of? Straw? Actually, yeah, they're probably made of straw. Anyway, Megan goes to call for help, while Mark goes to get his gun. Wait, you have a gun? Why didn't you get that when you went to the shed? You found blood everywhere. Mark gets back just in time to warn Megan, but doesn't shoot Father Jonas, who just stands there, then follows him very slowly. You have a gun! Megan finds Jonathan, who for some reason Jonas is dragged closer to the house, while Mark is on the roof fighting Father Jonas. After being stabbed and losing the gun, Mark falls off the roof. Megan reaches him just in time for Jonas to kill him in her arms, thus ending Megan's tour of the dead. Our final girl flees into the house and into the wine cellar, where she proceeds to step on the same broken glass as earlier. Megan goes for the gun, an actual smart move, and calls the cops. But Father Jonas makes his presence known and... wow, is she a terrible shot. Regardless, less than... symbolism. Megan goes for the gun, an actual smart move, and receives a call from the cops. But Father Jonas makes his presence known and...
it's out of your hands, officer. It's in the hands of the Lord now.
wow, she is a terrible shot. But regardless, one hits in center mass. She says a little prayer and we get the standard he's not dead jump scare, before he starts setting shit on fire. Megan turns his own tools against him, torching him. Wait, why did the woodshed explode? Was Father Jonas made of dynamite? The film ends in a very Friday the 13th style as Megan is wheeled into a waiting ambulance, and we see the church has secreted away Father Jonas, who's still not dead. Final thoughts. Dropping the first third of the film, which sadly does include almost all of Brock Simpson's scenes, I really liked it. Sure, the deaths weren't crazy and gory, but they don't always have to be. But it is preferred. On the other hand, though, I don't feel that overly inventive deaths would have fitted in with Father Jonas's character. That said, let's take a quick look at the aftermath. We have 2 explosions. Jonas kills 8 people, 6 men, and 2 women. There are 5 immolations in the film, and Megan's tour of the dead length was 5 minutes and 2 seconds. I feel that Deliver Us from Evil is not the best in the series. That distinction still goes to the original. However, I do feel it is better than the other entries in the series, with Hello Mary Lou coming in closely behind it on the grounds of pure cheesiness and that rocking soundtrack. Father Jonas just lacks memorability as a killer. Not that Alex was any more memorable, but he did make up for it with a very touching death scene, something that Father Jonas is lacking. So, while Deliver Us is never be a viewing staple in my collection, it was worth the watch. But just the once.